making trade more inclusive is a top priority for WTO members. Their shared objective is to ensure that trade benefits more economies and more people, building, as Ismaila said, on the vision articulated in the preamble of the WTO's founding Marrakesh Agreement. The 30th anniversary of this agreement provides a fitting occasion to review past achievements, assess current trends, and chart the path forward towards making trade work for all. This is precisely what we aim to do with this year's World Trade Report. It's actually the first time I'm also seeing the physical thing. The report draws three main conclusions. First, trade has proven to be a powerful driver of inclusiveness. Trade has proven to be a powerful driver of inclusiveness. Since the establishment of the WTO 30 years ago, per capita incomes in low and middle income economies have nearly tripled, significantly narrowing the income gap with high income economies. Our estimates suggest that up to 1/3 of this convergence can be attributed to reductions in trade costs, facilitated in part by the WTO. This trade-led convergence has had a transformative impact on the lives of hundreds of millions of people. The share of people living in extreme poverty in low and middle income economies dropped from 40% to around 11% since 1995, while the share of trade in these economies' GDP doubled from about 16% to 32%. Contrary to popular belief, income inequality within economies has not increased on average over the past 30 years. In fact, the average Gini index, a common measure of inequality, has slightly declined across a wide range of economies during this period. Furthermore, income inequality shows only a weak correlation with trade openness and is marginally lower in more open economies. Recent evidence also challenges the prevailing notion that import competition in industrialized countries led only to losses, instead revealing significant gains as well. In the US, for example, income declined in some manufacturing regions due to increased trade with China, but regions specializing in agriculture and services saw gains. Now let me turn to the second main conclusion of the report. Too many economies and people are still left behind. Income convergence has been uneven, leaving some economies behind. 1/3 of low and middle income economies, representing 13% of the global population, grew slower than the average high income economy in per capita terms, leading to divergence rather than convergence. These diverging economies are mostly located in Africa, Latin America and the Caribbean, and the Middle East. Although each diverging economy has its unique characteristics, they can generally be grouped into two categories. 3/4 of these economies have trade participation levels below the average for their income group. The remaining quarter, despite having relatively high trade participation, is predominantly specialized in commodity exports. Consequently, the report identifies low trade participation and high commodity dependence as critical trade-related risk factors for economic divergence. High trade costs are a major reason for the low trade participation observed in some diverging economies. The issue partly stems from trade policies, including high compliance costs associated with foreign standards and incomplete implementation of trade facilitation measures. Additionally, domestic factors such as underdeveloped physical infrastructure and inefficient infrastructure services play a significant role in hindering trade. Resource-rich economies often face difficulties diversifying beyond their main export commodity, a challenge commonly referred to as the Dutch disease. This phenomenon occurs when lucrative commodity exports undermine the development of competitive manufacturing, agriculture, or services sectors. Barriers to foreign direct investment, including explicit restrictions and soft factors such as an unfavorable investment climate, further exacerbate this challenge. Just as too many economies are left behind, so are too many people. One aspect that receives particular attention is within-country income inequality, which despite the slight decline over the last 30 years, remains high in absolute terms. It is thus understandable that discussions about trade and inclusiveness are often framed as debates about trade and income inequality. However, as we have established, trade integration is not strongly correlated with income inequality. It increases income inequality in some economies while reducing it in others. A more helpful approach is to examine how fairly the gains from trade are shared. A crucial yet overlooked component of the gains from trade are the consumer benefits from lower prices and increased product variety. Research shows that these gains disproportionately benefit low-income households, which tend to spend a larger share of their income on imported goods, such as food, and less on non-traded services, such as restaurants. These consumer benefits arise from productivity gains as workers and capital move from less productive to more productive firms, sectors, or region, leveraging comparative advantages and economies of scale. Conversely, less productive firms, sectors, or region lose resources, including workers, due to import competition. This dynamic means that some workers gain while others lose from international trade. The overall impact is shaped by a combination of import competition, access to cheaper foreign inputs, and export opportunities, which can vary significantly across different economies and even among similar workers. While it's therefore challenging to make broad generalizations about who benefits and who loses, one point is clear. Protectionist policies are not effective in safeguarding workers, as they too result in winners and losers within the economy. What truly impedes a fair distribution of the gains from trade are the barriers that prevent workers from moving towards new opportunities. Studies suggest that the costs for workers to switch sectors or occupations following trade shocks can amount to several times their annual wage. The report thus takes an in-depth look at these barriers, emphasizing that most are rooted in domestic policies rather than trade policy. Key obstacles include limited access to education, inefficient capital markets, and inadequate labor market regulations. The bottom line of our analysis is this: less trade will not promote inclusiveness, nor will trade alone. True inclusiveness demands a comprehensive strategy, one that integrates open trade with complementary domestic policies and effective international cooperation. And that's the third main conclusion of the report. For the WTO, the immediate priority is to uphold an open, predictable, and non-discriminatory multilateral trading system, a task that is becoming increasingly challenging in today's complex environment. This includes restoring a fully functioning and accessible dispute settlement system, a goal that WTO members are actively pursuing. However, the report also underscores the importance of policy coherence. The complex trade and challenges we face today, given by mega trends like climate change, digital transformation, and geopolitical tensions, demand a WTO and approach. This approach involves collaboration with other international organizations to ensure that trade policies are effectively integrated with broader domestic and international policy frameworks. Digital trade, for example, presents significant opportunities for less integrated economies, but also for micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises and women. Realizing these opportunities requires open trade combined with complementary investments in areas such as education and digital infrastructure. International initiatives that leverage the unique expertise of different international organizations can thus play a critical role in fostering more inclusive trade. To conclude, let me reiterate the report's three main findings. First, trade has a proven track record as a powerful driver of inclusiveness. Second, despite the success, too many economies and individuals remain excluded from its benefits. And third, bridging this gap necessitates a comprehensive strategy, one that integrates open trade with complementary domestic policies and fosters greater international cooperation.